The siege begins. The twin suns of Proxima Centauri cast long shadows across Horizon Colony's agricultural fields. After 7 years of hard work, the settlement of 15,000 colonists had transformed the once barren planet into humanity's first thriving extrasolar home. Director Eliza Cortez watched from the main observatory deck as farmers tended to crops specially engineered to flourish under the red dwarf star's unique light spectrum. "Another beautiful morning on humanity's frontier," she said to no one in particular. "Director," the voice of Security Chief Marcus Way interrupted through her comm unit, "we have a situation." Cortez continued watching the horizon where the colony's prefabricated buildings gradually gave way to the alien landscape. "What kind of situation, Marcus?" "Long-range sensors detected multiple objects entering the system. They're moving fast and changing trajectory in ways that defy natural orbital patterns." Cortez felt her stomach tighten. In 7 years of colonization, they had found microbial life, but no evidence of advanced intelligence. "How many objects?" 23 distinct. "Signatures arranged in formation. They'll reach our orbit in approximately 5 hours. 30 minutes later, Cortez stood in the colony's command center surrounded by her leadership team. The main display showed the approaching objects, sleek vessels with elongated hulls that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. "First contact?" whispered Dr. Victor Okafor, the colony's xenobiologist, his voice trembling with excitement. "After all our searching." "Let's not jump to conclusions," Way countered, his posture rigid from years of Earth Defense Force training. "We don't know their intentions. Have they responded to our hails?" Communications Officer Li Mei-Ying shook her head. "Nothing. We've been broadcasting on all frequencies since detection, using every first contact protocol in the handbook." "How long would it take a message to reach Earth?" Cortez asked, though she already knew the answer. 4 years and 3 months at light speed," Li replied grimly. "And any rescue mission would take at least another 5 years using conventional drives." Cortez made her decision. "Send the emergency beacon immediately. If things go badly, Earth needs to know what happened here." 4 hours later, the alien vessels entered orbit around Proxima Centauri b. Their design became clearer. Each ship featured a crystalline structure with surfaces that pulsed with an eerie violet luminescence. They positioned themselves in a precise geometric pattern above the colony. "Still no response to communications," Li reported. "Perhaps they communicate differently," Okafor suggested. "Different sensory organs, different technology." The theory was rendered moot when the first energy beam lanced down from the largest ship, striking the colony's main communication array and vaporizing it instantly. "They're attacking." "Way," shouted, stating the obvious as more beams followed, targeting the colony's defense systems, power generators, and spaceport. The precision was terrifying. The aliens knew exactly what to hit to neutralize the colony's infrastructure while minimizing casualties. "Activate emergency protocols," Cortez ordered over the colony-wide communication system. "All personnel evacuate to designated shelters immediately. This is not a drill." The colonists had prepared for emergencies, solar flares, meteoric impacts, atmospheric contamination, but never an alien attack. Still, years of drills paid off as they moved with surprising order toward the underground facilities built into the bedrock beneath the colony. Cortez was the last to enter Shelter 1, the colony's primary command center during emergencies. The heavy doors sealed behind her with a pressurized hiss. "Status report," she demanded, taking her position at the central table. 95% of colonists accounted for in shelters," reported Dr. Amara Osei, the colony's chief medical officer. "Defense systems completely disabled," Way said. "They knew exactly what to target." "Communications?" Cortez asked. "Main array destroyed," Li answered. "But we managed to launch the quantum-entangled emergency beacon before they hit it. We have limited short-range capabilities through the backup systems," Cortez nodded. "And our supplies?" Resource Manager Jackson Chen looked grim. "Life support recycling operational. Food and water for 60 days at full capacity. Longer with rationing." "What do they want?" Okafor asked, the question hanging in the air. No one had an answer. For 3 days, the aliens remained in orbit. methodically destroying any technology the colonists attempted to repair on the surface. They made no attempt to communicate, no attempt to land troops, no attempt to finish what they had started. On the fourth day, Cortez gathered her leadership. "Team again. They're containing us," Wei said. "Keeping us bottled up until we run out of supplies or are forced to surrender." "Maybe they're studying us," Okafor suggested, "learning about us before they make their next move." "Whatever their reasons," Cortez replied, "we need to understand what we're dealing with. Dr. Okafor, work with the science team to analyze everything we know about them. Wei, assess our remaining defensive capabilities. Li, see if you can establish any form of communication with them." "And if we can't?" Chen asked. Cortez met his gaze steadily. "Then we prepare for the worst." The siege continued. Days turned to weeks. Food rations were cut. Water was strictly controlled. Children cried from hunger and confinement. Medical supplies dwindled as injuries from the cramped conditions mounted. By day 25, hope was fading. The aliens had begun systematically destroying the colony's surface structures, though they still made no attempt to breach the underground shelters. "They're toying with us," Wei said, watching the surveillance feed as another building collapsed, under alien energy beams. "Or sending a message," Okafor countered. "I believe they're demonstrating their technological superiority, hoping we'll surrender without them having to risk direct conflict." Meanwhile, in a windowless lab deep within Shelter 3, a team of engineers led by Dr. Sophia Reyes worked tirelessly on a makeshift transmitter. "If we can boost the signal enough," Reyes explained to Cortez during an inspection, "we might be able to get a message through their orbital blockade. Not back to Earth, that's impossible, but maybe to the automated research outpost on Proxima. See, that outpost has no weapons, no rescue capabilities," Wei pointed out. "No," Reyes agreed, "but it has a quantum communications relay. If we can activate it remotely, we could establish real-time communication with Earth." "How long?" Cortez asked. 3 days, maybe 4, Reyes answered. "If we can divert enough power without the aliens detecting it." Cortez nodded. "Do it." On day 31 of the siege, the transmitter was ready. The plan was simple but desperate. They would channel energy from the shelter's backup generators into a brief, powerful burst aimed at the automated facility on Proxima's second planet. "This will drain 40% of our remaining power reserves," Chen warned. If it fails, we're no worse off than we are now," Cortez replied. "Proceed, Dr. Reyes." The transmitter powered up, drawing precious energy from systems already running on minimal capacity. Throughout the shelters, lights dimmed and environmental controls faltered. "Transmission complete," Reyes announced after 2 tense minutes. "Now we wait." They didn't wait long. Within hours, the aliens responded. Energy beams more powerful than any before struck the ground directly above Shelter 3, causing the reinforced walls to crack and dust to rain down from the ceiling. "They detected it," Wei said grimly. "They know what we tried to do." "Did the signal reach the outpost?" Cortez asked Reyes. The engineer checked her makeshift equipment. "Impossible to tell. The aliens are jamming all frequencies now." That night, as Cortez tried to sleep on her narrow cot, she was haunted by the thought that she had doomed her people. The aliens had escalated their attacks, and supplies were dwindling faster than projected. Within another 30 days, starvation would become a real threat. What she didn't know was that their desperate transmission had succeeded. The signal had reached the automated outpost on Proxima C, and the quantum relay had activated, establishing instantaneous communication with Earth despite the vast distance. And Earth had changed in the years since the colony ships departed. The planet that had sent these pioneers into the stars was no longer the cautious exploring world it had been. Humans' vengeance. The story of how humanity went from prey to predator would be told for generations to come. How a single ship and a disgraced captain had changed the balance of power in their corner of the galaxy. How the colonists who believed no rescue was possible had witnessed humanity's most feared creation emerge from the void to deliver them from certain doom. And somewhere between the stars, The Nemesis continued its silent watch, a dark guardian, carrying humanity's most terrible and wonderful secret, that when pushed to the edge of extinction, humans don't simply fight back. They transcend. It had united under a single defense command, its military capabilities expanding as it reached further into the cosmos. In a hardened facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, Fleet Admiral Kazuo Tanaka received the distress call personally. Proxima Colony reports they are under attack by unknown alien forces. His aide reported. They've been besieged for 31 days. Tanaka's expression remained impassive, but his fingers tightened on the edge of his desk. Time to reach them. Using conventional drives. 5 years, 3 months, sir. Too long. They won't last 5 years. Tanaka stood and walked to the reinforced window that looked out into the underwater hangar, where Earth's conventional military fleet was docked. What about the Phantom project? His aide hesitated. Sir, those ships are still experimental. The test runs have been problematic. Problematic how? The space-folding technology is unstable. Of the 3 test vessels, only one has successfully completed a jump beyond the solar system. And the neural interface. What about it? Tanaka pressed. It's driven 6 pilots insane, sir. Only one person has ever successfully integrated with the system without permanent psychological damage. Tanaka turned away from the window. Captain Nadia Volkov. Yes, sir. But she was court-martialed 3 years ago after the Mars incident. She's currently serving a life sentence in the Olympus detention facility. Admiral Tanaka was silent for a long moment. Get her out. Tell her I need her to pilot the Nemesis. While Horizon Colony struggled to survive, events were being set in motion that would soon change everything. The Nemesis, Earth's deadliest and most mysterious warship, was about to be unleashed. The Ghost Fleet Captain Nadia Volkov stood in the observation chamber of the lunar shipyard's classified sector, staring at the vessel suspended in the cavernous dock below. The Nemesis was unlike any other ship in Earth's arsenal, an elongated, asymmetrical form with a hull composed of a material that seemed to devour light rather than reflect it. Even dormant, it radiated a sense of wrongness, its angles appearing to shift subtly when viewed from different perspectives. Beautiful, isn't she? Admiral Tanaka said, stepping up beside her. Beautiful isn't the word I'd use, Volkov replied, her voice carrying the slight rasp acquired during 3 years in the prison mines of Mars. At 42, she remained lean and hard, her once regulation-length black hair now falling past her, shoulders streaked with premature silver, a side effect of her previous neural connections with the experimental ship. Terrifying, impossible, alive, those are more accurate. She's been waiting for you, Tanaka said. Volkov laughed bitterly. Don't personify it, Admiral. That ship isn't a she, it's a thing we barely understand and can't control. And yet you agreed to pilot it again. 15,000 colonists, Volkov said simply. What choice did I have? The truth was more complicated. Volkov had spent 3 years in prison contemplating her choices. The incident that had led to her court-martial, disobeying direct orders, during a test flight, pushing the Nemesis beyond its authorized parameters, and nearly causing an interplanetary incident with the Mars colonies, had been necessary. She had felt something during that neural connection, something the scientists monitoring her brainwaves couldn't detect. The ship had been trying to communicate. 24 hours later, the Nemesis was ready. Its systems had been reactivated, its experimental weapons loaded, its space-folding drive primed. The crew was minimal, just Volkov as pilot, 3 engineers, to maintain the systems they partially understood, and a small tactical team led by Commander Darius Okoye, one of the few officers who had served with Volkov before her fall from grace. The neural interface is stable, reported Chief Engineer Dr. Maya Patel from her station. Ready when you are, Captain. Volkov took a deep breath and settled into the pilot's chair at the center of the bridge. Unlike conventional ships with their controls and displays, the Nemesis bridge was nearly empty, just a single seat with neural connectors. Initiating interface in 3, 2, 1. The world dissolved around Volkov as her mind merged with the ship. It was like diving into a dark ocean, feeling the vast presence of something ancient and alien beneath her. But this time, she was prepared. She had spent her years in prison developing mental techniques to maintain her sense of self while connected to the nemesis. "Captain Volkov is stable," she heard Patel say distantly, neural patterns holding steady. "Nemesis, prepare for departure." Tanaka's voice came through the ship's communication system. Volkov didn't need to press buttons or give verbal commands. She simply thought, and the ship responded, its engines humming to life with a resonance that vibrated through her consciousness. "Course set for Proxima Centauri," she announced, her voice eerily calm as her awareness balanced between human and ship. "Initiating spacefold in 10 seconds. The Nemesis pulled away from the lunar base, accelerating smoothly into space. The stars blurred and then vanished altogether as the vessel slipped between the fabric of spacetime. Within the neural connection, Volkov experienced the spacefold differently than her crew. To them, it was a moment of disorientation as conventional physics were temporarily suspended. To her, connected to the ship's alien consciousness, it was a journey through layers of reality she lacked the vocabulary to describe, dimensions where time and space were malleable concepts rather than absolute constraints. "Spacefold complete," she announced as the Nemesis emerged in the Proxima Centauri system. Local time disruption minimal. Only 4 minutes had passed for the crew, though they had traversed 4.2 light-years. "Status report," Commander Okoye requested, recovering from the momentary disorientation of the fold. "Ship systems optimal," Patel responded. "Spacefold drive cooling down for the return journey. Sensors detecting 23 vessels in orbit around Proxima B," reported Lieutenant Kwan from the tactical station. "Configuration matches no known human design." Through her connection with the Nemesis, Volkov perceived the alien ships not as visual images on a screen, but as patterns of energy and intent. Their technology was advanced but comprehensible, nothing like the truly alien architecture of the HFY Nemesis itself. "Scanning colony surface," Kwan continued. "Significant structural damage to surface installations. Life signs detected in subterranean levels. Approximately 14,000 human signatures." Volkov processed this information instantaneously through the neural interface. "They're alive," she confirmed, "but trapped underground. The aliens have them under siege." "What's your assessment, Captain?" Okoye asked. As tactical commander, he would coordinate the Nemesis's weapons systems while Volkov focused on piloting. "The alien vessels are arranged in a defensive formation," Volkov observed. "They're not expecting company. Their technology is advanced, probably 50 years beyond our conventional fleet, but nothing compared to the Nemesis. Can we communicate with them?" Patel asked. "Diplomatic protocols suggest—" "They've had 36 days to communicate," Volkov interrupted. "Instead, they've been systematically destroying a peaceful colony. I'd say the diplomatic window has closed." Through her neural link, Volkov directed the Nemesis to approach the Proxima system from the outer edge, using the system's Oort cloud to mask their signature until the last possible moment. "We'll hit them fast and hard," she explained to her crew. "The Nemesis's phase shift capabilities mean we can move through their formation before they can track us. Priority targets are their largest vessels, likely command ships." "And if they retreat?" Okoye asked. Volkov's response was cold. "No witnesses. Earth isn't ready for the galaxy to know about the Nemesis or the technology it contains." The crew fell silent at this. The implications were clear. This wasn't just a rescue mission, it was a statement. Humanity would protect its own, regardless of the cost. As the Nemesis glided silently through the outer reaches of the Proxima system, Volkov felt something stir within the ship's consciousness, something primal and eager. The Nemesis had been built for war, using technology humanity had reverse-engineered but never fully understood. Now it was about to fulfill its purpose. "Prepare for combat maneuvers," Volkov announced. "Phase shift drives at standby. Quantum. Disruption cannons charged to 60%. Through the neural interface she could feel the ship's excitement building, a predator about to pounce. The alien fleet continued its orbital pattern above Proxima b, unaware of the deadly shadow, approaching from the system's edge. Their sensors, designed to detect conventional propulsion and energy signatures, were blind to the Nemesis's exotic technology. 20 seconds to engagement range, Quan reported. Volkov closed her eyes, though it made no difference to her perception. Connected to the Nemesis, she saw in all directions simultaneously, experiencing the battlefield as a three-dimensional model in her mind. Remember, she told her crew, once we engage, there's no going back. Earth has authorized complete neutralization of the threat. No one objected. They had all volunteered for this mission, knowing what it meant. 5 seconds, Quan announced. Volkov took a deep breath and gave the command through her neural link. Phase shift engaged. The Nemesis disappeared from conventional space, its exotic drives bending light and reality around it. To an outside observer, it would have seemed to vanish entirely. To Volkov, connected to the ship's consciousness, it was like stepping sideways, into a parallel dimension where physical objects became ghostly outlines. The ship accelerated to impossible speeds, unhindered by the normal constraints of inertia. In this phase-shifted state, it passed directly through the outer perimeter of the alien formation before rematerializing in normal space, directly alongside the largest enemy vessel. Fire, Volkov commanded. The Nemesis's quantum disruption cannons discharged, releasing energy not in conventional beams but in spheres of distorted spacetime that bypassed the alien vessel's shields entirely. Where the spheres struck, matter simply ceased to exist, converted into energy that was immediately absorbed by the Nemesis itself. The alien command ship didn't explode. Nearly half of it simply vanished, the remaining structure collapsing in on itself as its internal atmosphere vented into space. Phase shift cooling, Volkov reported. 90 seconds until next shift available. The alien fleet reacted with surprising speed, energy weapons charging as they adjusted their formation to surround the unexpected threat. The first volley of alien fire struck the Nemesis's conventional shields, causing them to flare brightly. Shields at 70%, Patel reported. Their weapons are powerful but not beyond our capabilities. Volkov guided the Nemesis through evasive maneuvers that would have killed a human crew on any other vessel. The inertial dampening technology, another reverse-engineered system, allowed the ship to change direction instantaneously without subjecting its occupants to lethal G-forces. Target their propulsion systems, Okoye suggested. Immobilize them. Negative, Volkov countered. They're coordinating too effectively. Take out their communication capability first. She identified the patterns of energy transfer between the alien vessels, the almost invisible tachyon bursts that indicated faster-than-light communication. Through her neural link, she directed the Nemesis's secondary weapon systems to target these specific frequencies. The effect was immediate. The alien formation, previously moving with uncanny coordination, became disjointed and chaotic. Phase shift recharged, Quan announced. Targeting next largest vessel, Volkov responded, guiding the Nemesis into another reality-bending jump. The battle continued in this fashion, the Nemesis appearing and disappearing throughout the alien formation, striking with weapons that defied conventional physics, then vanishing before the aliens could mount an effective counterattack. By the third phase shift, the aliens began to retreat, their formation collapsing as individual captains chose flight over certain destruction. They're running, Quan observed. Not far enough, Volkov replied coldly. Through her neural connection with the Nemesis, she extended the ship's sensors to track each fleeing vessel. One by one, the Nemesis hunted them down, phasing into existence alongside each ship just long enough to deliver a killing blow before disappearing again. It was not a battle but an execution, exactly as Earth Command had intended. 90 minutes after the engagement began, the space around Proxima b was filled with expanding clouds of debris, all that remained of the alien fleet. The Nemesis hovered in orbit, its hull absorbing light from the system's red dwarf star. Colony signals detected, Quan reported. They've registered our presence and are attempting communication. For the first time since the battle began, Volkov smiled. Open a channel. Let's tell them the cavalry has arrived. Reckoning deep within. Horizon Colony's Shelter 1. Director Eliza Cortez stared in disbelief at the crackling communication screen. After 36 days of siege, help had arrived from the most unexpected source. A single ship of unfamiliar design that had annihilated the entire alien fleet in less than 2 hours. "This is Captain Nadia Volkov of the Earth vessel Nemesis," came the transmission. "Horizon Colony, do you read us?" "Do you read?" "We read you, Captain Volkov," Cortez replied, her voice hoarse from weeks of stress and rationed water. "Your timing is miraculous." A hint of a smile crossed Volkov's face. "Not miraculous, Director. Just the result of some very classified technology. Your distress signal reached Earth through the quantum relay. Admiral Tanaka sends his regards." Security Chief Wei pushed forward. "One ship destroyed their entire fleet? How is that possible?" "That's classified," Volkov responded smoothly. "All you need to know is that the threat has been neutralized. You can begin surface operations again. We've confirmed no alien vessels remain in the system." The colonists emerged cautiously from their underground shelters, blinking in the red sunlight. Many wept at the sight of their damaged but still recognizable home. Medical teams from the Nemesis assisted the colony's doctors in treating the ill and injured, while engineering teams helped restore critical infrastructure. Captain Volkov, finally disconnected from the neural interface, set foot on the colony's surface 3 days after the battle. She moved with the careful deliberation of someone reacquainting themselves with their own body after extended neural immersion. Director Cortez met her at the makeshift landing pad. "The grateful thanks of 15,000 colonists are yours, Captain. Without this ship," Volkov corrected, gesturing to the Nemesis hovering above them, its exotic hull seeming to bend the very light around it. "I'm just the pilot." "That's not what your crew says," Cortez replied. "They say you're the only one who can interface with it successfully, that others have tried and gone insane," Volkov finished bluntly. "Yes, the neural load is significant." They walked toward the colony's half-reconstructed command center, passing teams of colonists, clearing debris and rebuilding structures. "We've recovered data from what remains of the alien ships," Wei reported, falling into step beside them. "Dr. Okafor is analyzing it now, but preliminary findings suggest they call themselves the Ascendancy. They appear to be a species that believes technological superiority gives them the right to subjugate or eliminate other spacefaring races." "A common enough philosophy in the universe," Volkov remarked dryly. "You've encountered others?" Cortez asked sharply. Volkov hesitated. "That would be classified, Director." In the command center, Dr. Okafor was examining three-dimensional projections of alien star charts. "Captain, I believe these show multiple Ascendancy conquest zones across this sector of the galaxy. Based on these records, Proxima Centauri was just the first human colony in their expansion path." Volkov studied the charts with narrowed eyes. "They were planning a systematic campaign against human settlements." "It appears so," Okafor confirmed, "and given their technological advantage over our conventional fleets, they would have succeeded," Wei finished grimly. Commander Okoye, who had accompanied Volkov to the surface, spoke up. "Ma'am, this changes our mission parameters. Earth Command assumed this was an isolated incident." Volkov nodded. "We need to transmit this intelligence back immediately." She turned to Cortez. "Director, we'll need access to your quantum relay." As the colonists continued their rebuilding efforts, Volkov and her team established secure communications with Earth Command. Admiral Tanaka's expression remained impassive as he absorbed the implications of their discovery. "You're certain of this assessment, Captain?" he asked finally. "The data is conclusive, sir," Volkov replied. "The Ascendancy has cataloged at least 7 human colony worlds for what they term processing. Their next target appears to be the research station at Tau Ceti." Tanaka was silent for a long moment. "The Nemesis was intended as a last resort, Captain. A single prototype that was never meant to see active service. We don't have another ship like it." "Then build more," Volkov said simply. "You know it's not that simple. The technology is barely understood, The neural interface has a 95% failure rate, and the power requirements are astronomical. Even if we committed all of Earth's resources to the project, it would take years to construct a second vessel. We don't have years, Admiral. Based on the Ascendancy's movement patterns, they'll reach Tau Ceti within 6 months. Another long silence. What exactly are you proposing, Captain? Volkov had spent days considering this very question. The Nemesis can be more than just a weapon, sir. It can be a deterrent. We've shown we can strike anywhere, anytime with overwhelming force. Now we need to make sure the entire Ascendancy knows it. You're suggesting psychological warfare. I'm suggesting we teach them fear. Volkov corrected. Something tells me it's a concept they're not familiar with. The plan that emerged over the following days was bold, perhaps even reckless. The Nemesis would not return to Earth as originally ordered. Instead, it would embark on what Volkov termed a ghost campaign, appearing without warning at Ascendancy. Outposts, striking decisive blows, then vanishing before reinforcements could arrive. It's not a conventional war strategy, Okoye observed during the planning session. We'll be operating without support, deep in enemy territory. Nothing about the Nemesis is conventional, Volkov reminded him. Our advantage is their inability to predict where we'll strike next, or to defend against our technology. On their final evening on Proxima B, Volkov stood alone on a ridge overlooking the recovering colony. The settlement's lights glowed warmly against the alien landscape, a small bubble of humanity in the vast darkness. Quite a view, said a voice behind her. It was Director Cortez carrying 2 cups of synthetic coffee. Volkov accepted one with a nod of thanks. They're resilient, your people. Humans generally are, Cortez replied. It's our defining characteristic, I think. Not our intelligence or our technology, but our sheer stubborn refusal to give up. They stood in companionable silence for a moment, sipping the bitter coffee. The Nemesis isn't human technology, is it? Cortez asked finally. Volkov considered, her answer carefully. Not entirely. I thought as much. There's something about it. The way it moves. Like it doesn't quite belong in our reality. It doesn't, Volkov admitted. At least not completely. And yet you can connect with it, control it. Volkov laughed softly. Control is a strong word. Guide it, perhaps. Channel it. Sometimes I think it's using me as much as I'm using it. Does that worry you? Cortez asked. Every day, Volkov replied honestly, but right now it's the only advantage we have. The next morning, the Nemesis departed Proxima Centauri, its exotic hull shimmering briefly before disappearing into a space fold. Director Cortez watched from the newly repaired observation deck as humanity's deadliest warship vanished to continue its solitary campaign against an enemy that had gravely underestimated mankind's resolve. Over the following months, reports filtered back through quantum channels, the Nemesis appearing without warning at Ascendancy installations, striking with devastating precision, and vanishing before their defenses could respond. Each attack was calculated not just for strategic value, but for psychological impact, designed to spread fear and uncertainty throughout the Ascendancy command structure. 6 months after the siege of Horizon Colony, Admiral Tanaka received an unexpected communication through the secure quantum network. It contained a set of coordinates in neutral space and a simple message. They're ready to talk. The meeting that followed would change the course of human history. Captain Volkov, now gaunt and even more silver-haired from prolonged neural connection, with the Nemesis represented Earth Command. Across from her sat 3 Ascendancy overseers, their crystalline exoskeletons glinting under the lights of the neutral station. Your species was categorized as primitive, the lead overseer stated, its translator converting the crystalline vibrations into human speech. Your propulsion systems, your weapons, your communication technology, all indicating a civilization, at least 3 centuries from achieving true interstellar capability. You missed something in your assessment, Volkov replied calmly. Indeed, the vessel you call Nemesis, it is not of your making. Its components weren't, Volkov acknowledged. Its purposes. The negotiations were brief, but productive. The Ascendancy agreed to recognize all current and future human colonies as sovereign territory, exempt from their expansion programs. In return, Earth would share limited information about conventional propulsion advancements, nothing that would compromise security, but enough to demonstrate good faith. Neither side mentioned the Nemesis or the technology it contained. When Captain Volkov finally returned to Earth after 18 months of continuous operations, she was welcomed as a hero, though most of what she had accomplished remained highly classified. In a private ceremony, Admiral Tanaka presented her with a full pardon and reinstatement to active duty. "What you've done for humanity can never be fully acknowledged publicly," Tanaka told her, "but know that you've secured our place among the stars." Volkov nodded, too weary for words. The prolonged neural connection had taken its toll. New silver streaks in her hair, fine lines around her eyes that hadn't been there before, and moments when her perception seemed to shift between human senses and the Nemesis's alien awareness. "And the ship?" she asked finally. "Docked at the lunar facility awaiting your return," Tanaka replied. "The engineers report it's been restless." Volkov smiled faintly. "It would be. We have unfinished business, the Nemesis and I." "You've done enough, Captain," Tanaka said gently. "More than enough. No one would blame you for requesting reassignment to conventional duties." Volkov looked out the window at the blue curve of Earth below. For 18 months she had existed. In the liminal space between human and ship, her consciousness stretched across stars and dimensions beyond human understanding. The prospect of returning to a normal life seemed almost as alien as the technology that had saved humanity. "The Ascendancy isn't the only threat out there," she said finally. "And the Nemesis chose me for a reason." Tanaka studied her for a long moment. "The ship chose you?" "Yes," Volkov replied simply. "And it still has more to show us." 3 weeks later, the Nemesis departed Earth orbit once again, vanishing into a spacefold with Captain Volkov at its neural helm. Its destination was classified, its mission known only to the highest levels of Earth Command. But across the galaxy, word spread among spacefaring species of a ghost ship that appeared without warning where threats to humanity emerged, delivering swift and decisive judgment before vanishing back into the void. They called it the Human.